30 minutes. That's how long lifters believed they had to slam protein after a workout, or watch their gains evaporate into the ether. Weigh shakers in locker rooms, powder spilling on gym floors, guys sprinting from the squat rack to their gym bag like the muscle fairy was holding a stopwatch. And it was, for the most part, nonsense. The anabolic window, as you were sold it, was never really there. The 30-minute rule that ran the supplement industry for 2 decades got dismantled in one peer-reviewed paper in 2013, and almost nobody told you. So let's actually walk through where it came from, who killed it, and what you should be doing around your training now. The story starts in the late 1980s and early 1990s in exercise physiology labs that were obsessed with glycogen. John Ivey at the University of Texas published some of the most cited work on this. His research on cyclists showed that if you fed them carbohydrates immediately after glycogen-depleting endurance exercise, they resynthesized muscle glycogen significantly faster than if you waited 2 hours. That was real. That was replicable. That mattered if you were a Tour de France rider with another stage tomorrow morning. Then the amino acid study stacked on top. Kevin Tipton, Robert Wolfe, and colleagues ran a series of papers in the late 90s and early 2000s showing that essential amino acids delivered around training spiked muscle protein synthesis. One frequently cited Tipton study from 2001 found that amino acids given before exercise produced a larger net protein response than the same dose given after. Notice that. Before, not after. But the bodybuilding world heard timing matters and ran with the post-workout half of it. By the early 2000s, the supplement industry had its golden goose. Every label screamed about the anabolic window. Magazines told you that if you missed the 30-minute mark, you wasted the session. ES, Muscle Tech, every brand pushing fast digesting whey hammered the same fear. Miss the window, miss the gains. Here's the part nobody saw coming. The endurance glycogen science had been quietly bolted onto the bodybuilding protein conversation, and the two situations have almost nothing to do with each other. You are not racing again in 12 hours. You are not depleting your glycogen to zero in a typical hypertrophy session. The urgency was borrowed from a sport you don't play. Enter Alan Aragon and Brad Schoenfeld. In 2013, they published a narrative review in the Journal of the International Society of Sports Nutrition titled Nutrient Timing Revisited. Is there a post-exercise anabolic window of opportunity? If you only read one nutrition paper in your lifting career, that's the one. And if this kind of breakdown is rewiring how you see training nutrition, subscribe, because this channel lives in this territory. What Aragon and Schoenfeld actually did was comb through the timing literature, look at the methodology, and ask a brutally simple question. When you control for total daily protein intake, does the timing of the post-workout meal actually move the needle on hypertrophy or strength? Their answer, based on the evidence available, was that the window is much wider than lifters were told, probably on the order of several hours on either side of training, and that total daily protein intake is doing the overwhelming majority of the work. They pointed out a critical confounder in older studies. A lot of the trials that seemed to prove urgent post-workout timing were comparing fed subjects to fasted subjects. If you train fasted, sure, getting protein in soon after looks magical because your body was running on fumes. But if you ate a normal mixed meal in the few hours before training, the amino acids from that meal are still elevated in your bloodstream during and after your session. You are not in a deficit. There is no closing door. In 2013, the same year as the review, Schoenfeld, Aragon, and James Krieger also published a meta-analysis on protein timing and muscle adaptations. Once they statistically controlled for total daily protein intake, the apparent timing effect basically disappeared. The studies that looked like they showed a timing benefit were really showing a protein dose benefit, because the timed groups were also eating more protein overall. So what actually matters? The evidence points overwhelmingly at total daily protein. Schoenfeld and Aragon's 2018 review in JISSN on how much protein per meal landed on roughly 0.4 to 0.55 grams per kilogram of body weight per meal, spread across 4 or so meals to maximize muscle protein synthesis across the day. For most lifters, that lands somewhere between 1.6 and 2.2 grams per kilogram per day total, which lines up with Morton, Phillips, and colleagues' 2018 meta-analysis in the British Journal of Sports Medicine, showing benefits plateauing around 1.6 grams per kilogram for resistance-trained individuals. That is the real anabolic lever. Daily protein. Hit your number, spread it across the day, train hard, sleep, repeat. Now here's the nuance that gets lost when people overcorrect. Aragon and Schoenfeld did not say timing is irrelevant. They said the window is wider than 30 minutes, not that it doesn't exist. Their practical recommendation was actually pretty reasonable. Aim to consume a protein-containing meal, roughly 0.4 to 0.5 grams per kilogram, within a few hours on either side of training. So if you ate a solid meal with chicken and rice 2 hours before lifting, you have no urgent reason to chug a shake the instant you rack the bar. You're already covered. Eat your next normal meal within a few hours and move on. The fasted trainer is the genuine exception. If you train first thing in the morning on an empty stomach, getting protein in fairly soon after the session is probably a real benefit because your pre-workout amino acid pool is depleted. Otherwise, the panic was manufactured. Think about what this did to the culture. Lifters built entire routines around fear. They kept emergency weigh scoops in their cars. They skipped real food because a shake was faster. Supplement companies made fortunes on a misreading of cycling glycogen research. And the irony is that the guys with the most muscle in history, Dorian Yates with his blood and gut sessions, Mike Mentzer training 30 minutes once every several days, Tom Platz crushing 20 rep squats, were eating massive amounts of whole food across the entire day. They were not setting kitchen timers. Dorian has talked openly about eating 6 meals of real food, chicken, beef, potatoes, rice, across his day during prep. The timing of any one meal was a footnote. The total was the story. So what should you actually do with your pre and post training meals now that the window has been pried open? Eat a mixed meal with a real protein dose, 20 to 50 grams depending on your size, in the few hours before you train. After you train, eat another normal protein-containing meal within a few hours. Don't skip it, don't agonize over it. If it's convenient to have a shake right after, fine. If it's more convenient to drive home and eat real food 45 minutes later, also fine. The difference between those two choices for total weekly hypertrophy is essentially noise, and hit your daily total. That is the lever that actually moves the bar weight up over months and years. Roughly 1.6 to 2.2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight, spread across 3 to 5 meals, each meal landing in that 0.4 to 0.55 grams per kilogram range. That's what the evidence actually supports. The anabolic window wasn't a lie because timing means nothing. It was a lie because a 30-minute panic clock was sold to you when the real clock runs for hours, and the real game was always the daily total. Eat like an adult, train like you mean it, and stop sprinting to your gym bag. If this hit, smash like and subscribe, and I'll keep dismantling the myths the supplement aisle built around your training.